This video is about series sequences, and you covered this in Algebra 2, so it's a quick review. And here's an example about explicit sequences, and arguably is the most explicit, the most obvious one. So the example here says, suppose that $1,000 is invested at 6%. So we've got $1,000 as principal, 6% as annual interest rate, compounded annually, all good. And the amounts to which the account will grow after year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, etc. form the following sequence of numbers. And here are 4 numbers representing each year. And this becomes a function such that 1 is paired with 1060, 2 is paired with $1123, so on and so forth, right? So we need to write a function to represent this. And therefore, sequence is a function. Remember, a function is when you have however many input, you only have one distinct output, where the domain is a set of consecutive integers. So it's the x value is a set, that's an important word, a set of consecutive positive integers beginning, oops, I cannot spell, with the number 1. Okay, so if you want to write this, this is actually a very simple, we just learned this, a very simple compound interest formula and compounded by the year. So let's look at the second half of the first page. Quick review of infinite. Infinite is exactly what it means. It means there's no end of it. So the domain is all sorts of integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. But we use these 3 dots to represent that it ends. It doesn't end. It goes on and on and on forever. Finite sequence, you can have 1, 2, 3, and all the way up to 1 million, 10 million, whatever it is. But obviously, in this case, it ends with a finite number. Again, I'm highlighting these 3 dots in the infinite sequence, whereas finite sequence has a bookend basically on each side. Okay. Function notation, this is fairly easy. Wherever we have fx equals 2x, you just you plug in the 1 to replace the x, right? And you plug in 2, and you should have 4 in this case, and 3 to replace that, you should have 8, so on and so forth. Now, notice that the base, obviously, the constant don't change. It doesn't change. What changes is the input, the domain of the x value. And the sequence notation is just another way to express the same concept. Again, this is just different math languages. It's almost like saying thank you in English versus French. In the department of sequence, rather than in the department of function, we often express it with an equals 2n, and then you plug in the n equals 1, then you have the same thing. This represents the second term. A3 would be 8, and so on and so forth, right? So a quick note about the letter n. This n here represents the sequence or the location of each of the term. So in other words, if we look at on top where it says finite sequence, n equals 1. When n equals 1, the domain is 1. When n equals 2, the domain is 2. So it's matched up. And if I'm asking you, what's the third term? The third term in this set would be 3. Okay, here are some examples. A couple of quick notes on the side. Don't ever guess those things because it will become random. It's all about patterns, and observation is the key when you try to observe patterns. When you observe things, usually these things falls under, usually it's something something plus a number. So maybe something something plus a number, right? Or minus a number, or multiply a number, that sort of thing. Sometimes you could also have something squared or something square root. Those are your possible combinations. And then once I sort of have a sense of what the pattern is, I rewrite a couple of terms just to prove that my pattern is a correct one. So look at number 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Obviously, there's some kind of addition in there. And it's all tied to the previous term, and the first term is 5. So I can say it's 5 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3. I can do that. But if I want to have my first term, if I want my an, right, and my n has to equal 1, because this is when n equal 1, when n equal 1, an equals 5. So obviously I would have 4 plus 1 in this case becomes 5. And then the next term would become when n equals 2, it'll become 4 plus 2. When n equals 3, and I have 4 plus 3. And then I add up, it does have 5, 6, 7 for me. So then I simply say, this is my pattern right here. As n goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 4 plus n representing that set. Okay? Second one, if I want so there's my n equals 1 right here, n equals 2, and n equals 3 right here. So let's see, can I rewrite these? Actually, this one is right here. Can I rewrite the first 3 terms that in a way that has some kind of pattern? Fractions, I'm going to try to rewrite it all into fractions. So it's 3 over 1, 3 over 2. And the third number 1 is 3 over 3. And now a pattern emerges, doesn't it? 3 over 4 and 3 over 5 and 3 over 6 is 1/2, so on and so forth. So the numerator is a constant 3. The denominator changes as the value of n changes. And in fact, the denominator is the value of n. So that's how we get that one. The third one, I have, what's the relationship? I'm going to skip some steps here. Can you see if I put the value of n, when n equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how are they connected with each term? And if I have to rewrite it, there's a negative sign. -1 is -1. -4 is, if I can do 2 squared. And then 9 is -3 squared. -16 is -4 squared. Notice where I do not have a parentheses. So in other words, -4 squared does not equal to -4 protected squared, because what's on the right is +16. Okay, so now really, if what this is telling me is that's my answer to that problem. So the last problem in this section, which is another type that you'll be presented with, is rather than asking you to identify the pattern of the series, you're given the pattern of the series, the function, and then you're asked to solve the nth term. So we're asked to find the 5 terms, and the 26th term. So 5 terms is easy. You plug in when n equals 1, so it's a1. You plug it in, you should have -1 raised to the power of 1, then 1 squared. Wherever there's n, you replace it with 1. And then a2, you do the same thing. For a2, I got +4. And a3, I got -9. Make sure you do it on the side. a4, I'm going to do the 8 4. So negative 1 raised to the power of 4 times 4 squared. So that's positive 1 times 16. So I have 16 there. Okay, is there a 5? I have 5 terms, right? Same thing. I should have negative 25. Also notice that, what does this do? This is really interesting. What does this negative n raised to the nth power do to your signs? Look, it makes it alternate in the series. Negative, positive, so on and so forth, right? And we are also asked to find the 26th term. So then I'm going to do it here. Oops, sorry. Wrong color. A26. Negative 1 raised to 26 and 26 squared. And negative 1 raised to an even power would always give me positive 1. And 26 squared is 676. Therefore, there is your answer right there. Not too hard, but do observe the different types of problems that you are presented. Like I said, I like to put the sequence n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3 under each term, and then you try to maneuver each term to express it in a more generalized term in reference of n. So rather than using 1, 2, 3, you use n to represent it and rewrite it. That's all, okay? Recursive sequence is the last concept. It's actually somewhat similar, but the definition just narrows it down a little bit, which makes life a little easier for us. So recursive sequence lists the first term. In other words, it gives you the first term more or less, or a few terms. Usually, actually, it's just first one. Then the remaining from given terms. So then describes how to obtain the remaining from given terms. Another way to say this, I'm going to use a different color, is that the second term is in terms of the first. And third term, you got it, in terms of second. Etc., etc. Okay, so it's the one in the back is in relation to the one in the front. I'm going to move up the sheet and let's look at this expression here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Very easy. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Obviously, they're even numbers. So if you want to, oops, wrong color. I like to use the blue one when I do this is my n, right? And the term itself is doubling each n. So if I have n and 2n is my sequence. So this is my sequence here where n has to be greater or equal than 1. That's my sequence there. That's n. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, if I want to write in a recursive sequence, my first term is given, obviously, number 2. And then my n plus 1, which means it's the next term, is in relation to the previous term. So it's the previous term is an, or in this case is number 2. 2 plus 2 would give me 4. Okay, so again, here the n is greater or equal than 1. So again, I'm going to recap. Write out the first term, that's your an right here. When n equals 1. That's how I got to this term. Once I got there, once I got this one here, I've got an equals 2, right? And then you figure out the second term, the term after that, an plus 1, which is a2 in this case. And you simply add 2 to it. That's how I got to the second term. If I generalize that with n, I got an plus 1 equals an plus 2. So my second term is now in relation to my first term. Next one is find the first 5 terms of the sequence defined by a1 equals 5, a2 equals an plus, okay, so let's see. If an plus 1 equals 2an minus 3, right? And when a1 equals 5 and a2 would equal a1 to a1 minus 3. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Therefore, I would have 7, right? A3 would have 2a2 minus 3. So 2 times 7 is 14, so I would have 11. And a4 is 2a3 minus 3. So what's that? That should be 19. 2 times 11 minus 3 equals 19. So on and so forth. And a5, I think it would be, I'm just doing a mental math here, it should equal 35 here. Okay, I'm not going to demonstrate a5. So that's how you solve recursive sequences. I'm going to stop here, and I'll do a separate video for the next section. But just a quick review of of sequences. We have infinite sequence, finite sequence, pretty self-explanatory. We have function notation, and a different way to write these functions is called sequence notation. But again, function is about patterns, so are sequences. And to write sequences, you need to start with an observation and try to find the patterns that the sequence has in relation to when n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3. Once you have that observation, you generalize it and write it into a sequence notation. And the last thing we did was recursive sequence, which means that the term behind is related to the term immediately ahead of it. So in other words, A2 is related to A1, A3 is related to A2. That's called recursive sequence. That's all for this unit. I'll see you in class, guys. Bye.